Hey guys, Metal Jesus here, and I'm back again with Drunken Mr. Paul.
Yes, and once again, we are going to expose you to my past, which is the days I was doing internet radio and interviewing a bunch of game developers and makers. And these are some of the archives I found, and Metal Jesus is going to share them with you.
That's right. This is a really cool interview with a couple different people, Ritual Entertainment, as well as Kevin Eastman, who bought and basically kept Heavy Metal Magazine going.
Yes, he kept Heavy Metal Magazine and the movie rights alive, which you'll listen to in a few minutes.
Yeah, that's right. So Ritual Entertainment is the first half of this interview.
Right.
So they created this game here, which is Heavy Metal FAKK 2. They also made SiN, which was a first-person shooter.
That's right.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then, of course, you guys bring on Kevin Eastman, which is pretty awesome. Now, for those of you who don't know, Kevin Eastman was the creator of the original
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And he talks about this game, specifically the making of the movies, as well as his upcoming baby, Heavy Metal 2000.
That's right. So it was the movie Heavy Metal, and Heavy Metal 2000, and then FAKK 2 was kind of like the finishing of the
the
trilogy.
Sequel to the sequel.
Sequel to the sequel, trilogy.
That's right. And you guys do this whole bit about Julie Strain, who is the main character of the movie and the game, and she was a Penthouse pet.
Right. If you don't know who Julie Strain is, look her up online, but not at work.
That's right.
Yeah, there's a great moment in here where we're talking about Julie Strain, and it's about an hour in.
You're trying to get her out of bed.
Oh, yeah. Usually it's the other way around. I'm trying to get her into bed, but no, I'm trying to get her.
It's a funny bit. It's a funny bit. You guys are going to love this. Let's take a look.
Welcome to the Game Dive, everyone. With the Game Dives, I'm Paul. And I'm pumped. I'm amped for the show tonight, and I don't know why. Just excited to be here on a Wednesday night.
I'm excited to be anywhere.
No, you're not. You're looking green.
Yeah.
Nice try. Now that I've told everybody in the listener land who can't see you, you've been a little under the weather today, but you're here. The show goes on.
I've been feeling crappy all day, and if it wasn't for the show, I wouldn't have even gone to work today. So once again, the show has cost me a part of my soul.
But damn, your priorities are in the right place.
Or something.
The show, gaming, drinking coffee, and talking about games with scantily clad babes yet again. Tonight's show is going to focus on Heavy Metal FAKK 2. Game coming out soon, I hope. I don't know. When the hell does this thing do? Who knows?
I think last I saw it was about January of the year 2000.
You know, I bet I know a guy who can answer that question.
I bet we can find one if we look around.
Just to look around here, somewhere around here. Oh, there's someone. I bet Tom would know.
Potentially.
Potentially. I like you mooed at us. First thing out of your mouth is a moo.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen.
You want answers?
Yeah, or questions.
First quarter is what we're looking at right now.
Woo!
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the voice of Tom, is it Mustaine?
Yeah, that'll do.
Mustaine, the lead designer for Heavy Metal FAKK 2, which stands for
Federation Assigned Ketogenic Kill Zones, actually from the movie, and basically revolves around the fact that anybody that goes to the planet that our lead actress comes from will die. So it's all a farce, but I can explain that later. So
it's very cool.
Interesting little acronym there.
So this is from Ritual Entertainment, and so just jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about Ritual and where you guys come from and.
Well, Ritual, we started about 3 years ago, working just what everybody in the industry worked on, Quake products, Doom, Duke Nukem. Everybody in our company worked on those kind of products. I'd worked on Final Doom, Master Level. A lot of our other guys had worked on Duke Nukem. Started about 3 years ago with Quake Mission Pack #1, got us jumped onto the Quake tech, and then we did SiN, which did pretty good, and moved into Heavy Metal FAKK 2 after getting a hold of Kevin Eastman, who's actually the guy who worked on Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he bought the property, the Heavy Metal Magazine and Heavy Metal FAKK 2 and the whole movie franchise and the whole 9 yards. And basically we got together and kind of worked together on going ahead and doing a FAKK 2 game, because there's a new movie coming out, a sequel to the original movie called Heavy Metal FAKK 2, which is actually being produced by Kevin Eastman, and we're actually making the sequel to that sequel. So the game's kind of 3 layers deep. It's a sequel to the sequel to the sequel. So it's interesting stuff, to say the least. And working with Kevin has been definitely a great experience, being able to work in the heavy metal universe and the whole 9 yards. And plus everybody at Ritual, we've been working with the Quake technology for upwards of 3 years now, and we're at the point now with Quake 3 where we can do anything we want pretty much and get it into the game, and it's done us really well so far, and I'm sure we'll get further down that line. The technology around, just give you a brief little ritual rundown there.
That's great. Actually, I did a little research on this game, as Robert knows, and our regular listeners know. Usually I come into this, what game are we talking about? But actually, I checked out the website and did a little background research on it, and it's cool stuff. I'm a big fan of the original Heavy Metal.
Oh, yeah.
Which anybody who's reached my number of trips around the sun was in high school or pre-adolescent time when that movie came out. Big cult film. And I didn't even know there was going to be a sequel.
Yeah, it's kind of out of left field how this came up. Basically, what Kevin Eastman wanted to do, he was such a big fan of the original movie, and it had gotten completely lost in legalities about who owned the rights to the bands and who owned the rights to the music and who owned the rights to this, that, and the other thing. So he actually took the effort to go through and get a hold of all those people that own the rights to all the music in the movie to get it re-released on video, and that was basically through his efforts. And along with that, he bought also the Heavy Metal magazine and the rules to be allowed to make any other movies and sequels in the whole 9 yards. So.
Wow. I remember the whole controversy over the music because I had a hell of a time trying to find the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
And a copy of the video, and I never knew why. And then I found out that there's a big legal harangue going on. And
there's a lot of strange stuff with that, but it's all worked out now, which is great. The whole Heavy Metal, everything from multimedia games to the movie to the new magazines to the toys, any way possible. And it's great because we get, from the game side of it, we get the assets of having like a movie studio quality conceptuals and whatnot, having that kind of resource to call upon if we need it, as well as the fact that we're at the point now where our games in production and we've already got our toys have been mastered from our character sketches, so it's pretty cool.
Plus, having Eastman along for the ride means you have access to Julie Strain.
Oh yeah, that too. That's a big one. Yeah, Julie is great too. She's always behind everything. She's going to do the voice for the character in the game as well as in the movie and everything. And it's interesting. It's been an interesting ride so far, and it's only getting better.
Now, being a person, actually, I don't even have a TV. I happen to live on a boat and there's no room.
Yeah.
So have there been trailers out for the movie?
I don't think there have been yet, actually. I think the movie is still scheduled for basically the same time as release. The game is going to be in first quarter, somewhere within first quarter, and they haven't really started doing any big time trailers. Well, I think they're starting to work on the getting the trailer together that they want, and that's the thing that'll start showing up in theaters. So
okay, so I won't feel like too much of a schmuck when I ask this question. I heard that, Robert. I checked the website. I was looking at all this information, and Julie is going to be in the movie?
Julie is actually the likeness. It's basically an animated movie.
Oh, okay, that was going to be my question. Is it an animated movie or live action?
No, it's animated with one live action character. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's an animated movie.
Okay.
And it's pretty similar as to any high quality animated movie you see nowadays.
Okay.
It's a little bit less psychedelic than the first one, I would think. It's more based on one story. Whereas the first movie kind of hopped around. Same with the magazines, and the lead character in the game, in the movie and the game, is essentially based on Julie Strain's likeness, and so Kevin Eastman, Julie Strain are married, and they've worked on tons of movies together. And any Julie Strain movie you see, you'll almost see Kevin Eastman along for the ride in there somewhere in the movie. And so the both of them have worked on multiple movies together. And this one, so Julie is now the lead character in this movie, and she just plays the voice, but also the likeness of the actual look of the character was actually based on her actual body and look and whatnot. So it's interesting, and it's also been our inspiration for the game too. Is you play Julie in the game from the movie, and also anything we do with Julie Strain actually, like we base the model on the actual pictures of Julie and stuff like that. So there's like I said, there's a lot of stuff that we can dig from on this game, and it's really helped us a lot to make it unique, to say the least.
Yeah, on the website there's some shots of Julie, some live shots in the costume.
Yeah.
That the character plays, which is what confused me, because I saw her in these costumes. Went, okay, now is this going to be a mix of animation and not, or it looks like
it kind of threw me too when I first got on the project. I was like, hey, what the heck's going on here? Because the property had pretty much existed. They'd been working on the movie, at least in the conceptual stages, probably about the same time we started, getting interested in them. They'd already been on the movie for a while, and they'd basically done, some write-ups, some stuff that they'd taken Julie and said, okay, here's some conceptual sketches of, Julie Strain as our lead character, and then in the end they basically decided to, how nowadays they take like Lara Croft and they'll find a model for Lara Croft and fit her to the game character. Well, now they just kind of retrofitted. They took Julie, her live action model, and put her in the outfit that she's going to be in the movie, and they took her model and they took her in her modeling pictures, and I'm all throwing together game words. They took a screenshot of the real action live, whatever. I'll start throwing all sorts of stuff together here, but they kind of just merged it all together. So it was kind of confusing in the beginning, but it's kind of great because our lead character in the game, we already have live action pictures of her and live action movies and whatnot. So when we start getting on our PR push for the game, we've got all sorts of stuff that we can put out there that's not only from the movie, animated cells from the movie, but live action stuff that Julie's done in the FAK2 outfits and whatnot. So it's definitely an interesting approach, to say the least. And I'm not entirely sure that any game has gone this approach before, because what we're trying to do is actually make something that's not the movie. The movie takes place 30 years before our game does. So it's actually, there's a 30-year gap. And not to mention the fact that we're actually developing it at the same time that the movie's being done. So it's kind of interesting. We're going to release about the same time as the movie. And I don't know that it may have been done with some other games, but I'm not sure if it's been a pretty unique approach for us, to say the least. So.
Well, I'm trying to think of any other game that's tied this closely to a movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I only I can think of like GoldenEye and whatnot. GoldenEye pretty much tied pretty close. You guys are in the consoles a lot, but still, that was a year or so after the movie had already been out, and it still was followed directly after the movie's storyline and plot. And we pretty much, when Kevin saw our stuff, Kevin came down to Ritual and he's like, I really want to work with you guys and all that. And he said, he looked at our stuff with SiN and some of our concepts for our future games. He's like, you know what? I don't want to limit you guys by making you do my movie. So what I want you to do is basically use the heavy metal universe and come up with whatever you want. Grab stuff from the movie. Don't grab stuff from the movie. I don't care. And so basically what we did is we just grabbed Julie from the movie, and we also grabbed a few other characters from the movie, and took it 30 years later. And there's some background to that I'll get into later, but and so everything else we just came up with from basically Heavy Metal Universe allows us to do whatever we want, which is great because then we can create things that just match the gameplay, and we're not worried about, this happens in the movie, and what happens here, and we can't do that, and blah, blah, So
the Star Trek phenomenon.
Yeah, they basically, we create a transmogrifier, which, whatever the hell, it doesn't matter. Just create whatever we want.
You can't do that. That didn't happen in the movie. This universe is you guys really can't.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No, yes, we can. It's our game.
Your warp coils don't work that way, basically. So.
Come here.
Yeah, they work that way.
Yeah.
An interesting point on the website as talking about Kevin Eastman coming up with the inspiration for the female character. Said in '93 he was working on developing a female heroine, but shelved the idea because he couldn't find the right inspiration. And then he met Julie Strain.
Yep, that pretty much did it for him.
Yeah, pretty much launched the whole thing.
If you've ever dug into any of Julie Strain's history, at all, she's done tons and tons of stuff. She was, obviously the real obvious ones, Penthouse Pet of the Year and stuff like that. And she's always had a really strong female role. She's 6'2" or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, she's always been played characters, or at least a lot of her model shots and a lot of her movies she's been in. They've been kind of B-grade movies and whatnot, but she's still been in a lot of movies where she played roles that were stronger. And when Kevin not only got a hold of her on the personal level, it kind of inspired him to, at least from what I've understood of it, that inspired him to say, what, this is going to be the focus, or Julie will be the focus of the next movie. And essentially, I think what Kevin's probably going to do, and this is all, speculation here, I think what he's probably going to do is, in the first movie, it was multiple stories merged into one, just like the comics. And I think or just like the magazine, I think what's going to happen now is he's basically going to make full-length feature movies, which are essentially like a single story out of one of the magazines. So it's an interesting concept. And I don't know, don't quote me on that one, but I think that's probably what's going to happen is there are going to be multiple movies, and from that potentially multiple games and whatnot. And we're just signed up for number 1 right now, so we're just looking out for what we can do. But it's definitely something that sounds really cool, and that's pretty much what drew us to the whole concept, not to mention that pretty much everybody at Ritual, at least a lot of the core group, was very big into heavy metal, sneaking the magazines and checking out the movie and whatnot. So it was definitely a dream license when we heard about it.
Well, we're going to dig some more into the game itself, a little more of the history, and actually we're going to have one of your cohorts in crime show up here.
Oh.
I believe that's Robert Atkins will be showing up to talk to us as well. We'll be back with Tom Mustaine, Tom Mustaine, and soon the Robert Atkins of Heavy Metal FAKK 2. This is the Game Dive. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Game Dive with Paul and Robert, the Game Guys, and we're talking to guys from Ritual Entertainment, Tom Paradox Mustaine, and now joining us, Mr. Robert Atkins, the lead artist for the game. Welcome, Robert.
Welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Glad you guys could make it. Hey, were you guys able to get into the chat room?
I'm in there. I'm not in front of a computer right now. I'm sitting on my counter, still stinky from a football game. So.
Oh, do you win?
No, I didn't win.
We'll talk to you anyway.
A sound beating.
Now, by football, are you talking American football or
it's
soccer?
Flag football. It's where old guys get out there and try to rekindle their glory days of the youth.
And snap knees like kindling.
Yeah.
Well, well, relax. Have yourself a beer. And just a picture sitting on your counter doing our show is interesting in and of itself.
Yeah, and I'm still stinky from the game. I think they wet the field down with like sewer water or something. It was quite interesting.
No, that would be Australian rules football. Ew! Well, welcome to the show. We've talked a bit about the background of the connection between your game and the movie. Going to dig into that a little bit more. But first, we'd like to let our listening audience know a little bit more about you guys. Now, I have in front of me, actually it's a little to the left, but a couple of bios that were sent in to us. And now, do you guys have copies of this? Would you like to read them, or would you like me to go ahead and do so?
I don't have a copy. Go ahead. We'll correct where.
Okay, let's see.
It'll give people a good idea where this game is going.
Oh, yeah, and the show is going, for that matter. We'll start with Tom.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Tom Mustaine has had one burning passion for the past 3 years. You can see a doctor about that, you know, Tom. And that is level design. Before joining Ritual Entertainment, Tom Mustaine worked on a number of successful projects, including the Doom TV engine, as opposed to the Doomed TV engine, including Master Levels of Doom and Final Doom TM for ID Software, Hell to Pay and Perdition's Gate for WizardWorks, and Memento Mori, a public domain freeware level pack. Quake TM hit the scene, and Mustaine knew what he wanted to do from that day forward. He joined Ritual Entertainment and served as a level designer for their first product, Quake Mission Pack Number 1, Scourge of Armagon. Mustaine spends all his time. What people write his last name? Tom. We're friends here now. Tom spends all his time now creating levels for their newest project, SiN. Well, actually, you got another thing going on.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
It changed.
He strives at creating new, innovative worlds for gamers by focusing on intense gameplay and immense level design that will shock and thrill you.
There you go. I'm excited. That's all changed now.
That's all changed.
Yeah,
that's all. We'll just pull that's out of here. That's out the window.
When was that written, Tom? I'm doing a lot of game design now, and still touching on maps a lot, but primarily trying to keep a lot of the creative content under control and documented, and make sure that every detail is on paper. And that's been pretty much my job, trying to redefine what to do.
That's so weird. Documentation for game and design?
Oh, it's sick. It's a new concept.
Yeah, I don't get that. Robert, I don't think I've ever seen this in any company before.
I haven't.
Certainly the one we've worked for. No.
It's gotten pretty bad. A lot of our docs, we've gotten stacks of paper that just describe it's like playing through an action game on paper. You know, it's kind of turn left, press fire. You know, here you'll interact with this guy. Here you interact with that guy. It's actually, and when we get it down to putting it in the game, it just goes a lot quicker and a lot more smoothly. So
you know, it always worries you when you walk down the hallway and you're in a boardroom and somebody walks in and goes, "You didn't erase that board, did you?" Yeah, about a week ago. No, 6 months work down the toilet. No.
Basically.
At our company, they've lost entire engines before.
Oh my God.
Nobody knows where they are. You know, some hard drive that got pitched in the garbage or something.
Don't piss off the employees.
Somebody down at the Salvation Army picked up a machine and goes, "What's all this stuff?" Hey, look here. Also on the bio, your nickname is Paradox.
Yeah.
So, and are you in the chat room as Paradox?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Are you in the beta, the new beta, or the old?
Yeah, Paradox. I think I'm in the old. I just clicked on the website, so I'm just kind of hanging around in the regular web edition.
Will everyone say hello to Paradox? Robert Atkins, artist. Let's see. Do I have any good music for Robert here? I
was thinking Pink Floyd after checking out his links.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Had to eat a bag of Doritos after reading
I need to update those links because there's a lot crazier ones out there that I haven't put there yet. So
we'll have to get these posted on our site.
My own suggestion is portalofevil.com.
That's the one, baby.
Open a portal to an evil dimension in the morning and nothing worse will happen to you all day long. Okay, Robert Atkins, artist, nickname, Backslider. Quote, I did not choose to be an artist. Art chose me. End quote. Oh, jeez. Like all the founding members of Ritual Entertainment, Robert Atkins' name is synonymous with outstanding PC entertainment and 3D action gaming. I'm going to check my thesaurus on that one. Some of the highly acclaimed products Robert had added his unique form of twisted creative genius to include Quake Mission Pack No. 1, Scourge of Armageddon, Duke Nukem 3D, one of my personal favorite games, and Terminal Velocity, and Rise of the Triad, and SiN, to name a few. That was a lot. See, Robert's experience and passion for creating has manifested itself into the role of art director on Heavy Metal FAKK 2. See, Roberts is updated here, Tom. So you're still back there working on SiN. He's already moved on to Heavy Metal.
Yeah, well, things happen. Or don't happen.
So does that mean that he's just more up to date, or you have so much work to do, Tom, that you don't have time to get around to updating your...
about more along the right line.
Maybe they haven't told you you're designing this game yet.
That's also true.
Oops. And you better start moving quick if you're going to get it out next year.
Oh, we're good.
And
good to go with that.
Now, Robert, is your wife listening to the show?
She's watching Blue's Clues with my son right now.
Okay, well, she'll have to listen.
She knows what's on there, so.
Yeah, well, whether she did or not, I'm going to read it anyway. But when Robert is not making games, he is spending time with his hot piece-of-ass wife, Sheila, and his two sons, Gabriel and Dylan. Woohoo! So she's cool with that.
Seems to me that
you're just a hot piece of ass. I was being truthful.
Ooh. I enjoy the truthfulness in that. We didn't get any shots of her, did we?
I thought about doing, but I knew you guys would take advantage of them in a bad way.
Oh, yeah. So you know Dan.
I do know Dan.
You do? You see what he does with our pictures all the time.
Don't need the Sheila Atkins web game.
We're going down to do a live show from San Francisco, and after Dan and his damn Turkish bath picture, I'm not sure that I can go down there without a disguise.
Whoever this Dan guy is, he should be punched.
Yeah, we can take him out, I think.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nemok. Your favorite links. Now, this kills me. Leary.com, temptimes.com, teeth.net. We need like a Dark Side of the Mood playing. Bookmark.com, see, ritualistic.com, where's this another good one? Jesus.com and Satan.com side by side. I like that. Let's see, hairclub.com.
I'll need that one soon, so.
Yeah, boy, do I get on that one. See, shooters.com and shrooms.com.
Yeah, I like to mix it up a little bit. You know? There's no hidden messages whatsoever.
None. So that gives everybody an idea. Well, go ahead.
I saw some screenshots, and I'm beginning to see now where this art is derived from.
Well, we are working on a heavy metal game, so.
Yes. There was some pretty strange stuff there. I think I'll probably have nightmares. I saw one screenshot of some large-breasted green. I couldn't tell if they were women or not, but they had large breasts. And they were pouring out some kind of liquid all over the place.
Lactation.
Yeah.
That was. I think it's funny when you make games. A lot of times you're inspired by the things going on in your life at the time. And, my wife had 2 babies like during the development of SiN.
Perfect.
And it just happened to kind of work its way over into the game somehow.
Based in reality. That's what true art is. This isn't just some candy fluff here. This is based on someone's life.
Now, since we've been working on the bio side of things here, the people in the chat room just want to know, is Tom related to Dave Mustaine?
I'm sure he's down the line somewhere, but not officially, I don't believe. The E was added on my last name by my grandpa, so, and Dave Mustaine has E on his last name too, but I don't know. It's all. We'll just say yes, but I'll say no. Everyone very musical. You related? Yeah, he gives me a guitar and free tickets. Yeah.
On the downside, he's probably going to hit you up for a case of free games.
Heck yeah, I'll hook him up with that in a second. We'd love it.
No, I'm after the toys myself.
Oh, the toys are great. Ooh. There's going to be a whole line of Kevin is doing. They're doing a line of toys that are for the movie. They also is going to be a separate line that's going to come out for the game, which is cool. The Eastman took
took control. He liked our character so much. He's like, hey, I want to do toys off these guys too. And he actually took, control over that as well, and just made it happen for us. We didn't even do anything. Just gave him our concepts, which is really sweet.
So he gets all the money, but you're going to get a box of free toys.
No, we get the money. We get some of the money. We get some of the money. The main thing, I mean, gamers are like, fucking toys, all right, We're excited. More shit on our shelves, man.
Oh, yeah. Glued to the top of their monitors.
Yep, basically.
Well, this is a huge project, then. I mean, between the movie and the game and all the tie-ins and the future and the way that it could go, this is something that's going to, keep you guys going for years to come, it sounds like.
Potentially. We made it a pretty big deal at Virtual, and just the contacts that we're making in the movie industry, as well as just the angle we're taking with this game. If nothing else, we're learning our own particular way of making games right, and with pre-designing it and using our assets that we built before. It's really helping us to build a basis for our future games as well. So it's definitely it's a part of a learning experience. It's also part of making this project. Probably it is definitely the biggest project Red Trail has undertaken so far, and it's also been turning out the best. We've been making everything's come together really quickly, and it's amazing how it works after you've had the experience and had a team that's worked on multiple titles, and now we're at the point where we can whip out stuff and make it good the first time instead of having to redo it. You know how it works. Just gotta go for the experience and make sure everything comes together right. So.
Yeah, building that foundation is always tough, but it's always worth it.
Oh, definitely.
Hey, you ready to take a phone call?
Sure.
Hey, go ahead and bring them in. Welcome to the Game Dive. Do you have ID?
Do I have ID?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Corinthian.
Okay. We'll let you in.
Okay, great. Listen, I just wanted to say that I've been a big fan of both of these guys for years. Am I on the air right now, by the way?
You most certainly are.
Oh, geez, I'm so nervous.
Oh, no.
Anyway, okay. I just also wanted to say that I have seen pictures of Robert's wife, and she is a great piece of ass. But in addition to that, though, it's obvious that you guys get a lot of your inspiration from drugs and porn. But any other place that we might be able to find, or maybe kind of be able to get into your mind a little bit, if we could just look it up ourselves?
I think the comic book is a big inspiration for this particular project. Heavy Metal, and I don't know how much of this Tom covered, and I hate to sound redundant, but Heavy Metal magazine is, if you pick it up for the first time and you read through the comic, you'll understand why we decided to do this game.
Yeah, actually, we didn't touch on the comic book at all before.
The comic book is the biggest piece of the pie here. It's not just the film. I think the comic book, which has been around for over 20 years, is one of the few adult-oriented comics that is told true to itself over that long a period of time. And I know that most of the gamers out there, especially the ones online, are a little bit younger, and they might not have ever picked up the comic book and never read through it. I encourage you and I implore you to please just go buy a Heavy Metal comic, and you will understand why we're doing this video game, because everything that's in there will turn you on like it's turned us on. And that pretty much, I think, is essential for the fans out there to get behind why Heavy Metal is
Well, let me ask you this: why have you gone from being a first-person shooter to a third-person shooter? I mean, it looks really great, and I'm really excited about being able to use both hands for weapons and so on. But what was the main reason for that?
Probably
Julie ass.
Oh no, I'll answer this. Oh, here we go. I think our biggest thing was the fact that we're focusing on a character in this game, where we're telling a lot of story throughout this game, whereas a lot of the first-person shooter angle is that you're kind of the lone warrior kind of thing, and we're doing a lot more plot twists in this game, as well as the fact that with our technology, we really wanted to highlight the character and the environments she gets in and the things that you deal with. So making it third just seemed like the logical choice, because we really wanted to be able to move around in the environment a little bit differently, kind of like a third-person game would allow. And not to mention the fact that we just have the ability to see the character and what she does and how she interacts with the world, and be a little bit more, personal with the character than just running around being a faceless, nameless character. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much our initial design idea behind that, as well as just the ability to play with the camera a lot. I'm actually taking control of the camera from the player every once in a while to do dramatic camera sequences, and just kind of hit home with particular scenes in the game and whatnot. So it was definitely a creative design decision that was made. So
I think what we've seen so far, man, it looks great. The model looks fantastic. Any live sex scenes or anything like that going to be in the game?
I think you need to maybe invest in a pay channel here sometime soon.
Listen, I'll just go ahead and leave you guys. I can talk to somebody else now.
Okay. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
First caller. Yeah, that was something that Robert and I were going to bring up as well, is the choice for a third-person perspective as opposed to a first-person, especially using the Quake 3 engine. So
yeah, it was also a little bit of a different twist for us. We've been doing first-person shooters for a while, and we feel like we've done a lot with that, and that our systems have been built where we can make a first-person or third-person game pretty easily and do it in the right way. But we basically, when we get a hold of this license, it's like, it'd be so much better to actually see our character and see her move and be able to jump around the environment and catch on to things and actually interact more with the world and, make it more of a character-driven type game instead of just being, here's my gun, And it was like a gameplay decision because it allows for a lot more different types of gameplay as well, plus the ability to do, we'll hit on the combat later, but the multi-handed combat and, being able to see more creatures and the environments can be a lot more detailed. And it's definitely, like I said before, a creative approach and a creative design that we really thought about before we got into it.
So. Julie Strain moving around and jumping.
Now you're getting to the serious point.
Hello.
The real reason.
The real reason.
I have to say, though, where Robert has let us down is the Julie Strain that we see in the game appears to be more heavily clothed than the one we've seen in the movie.
Well, that's just, we didn't want to start her out in the same red G-string that she is in the film at the end of the film. We wanted to start her out in a conservative outfit, and we'll actually have costume changes throughout the game.
So somewhere in the game we can expect to see that piece of red dental floss that she's wearing.
Very close to that, yes.
Basically, like I was saying before, the game starts 30 years after the movie, so she hasn't been doing a lot of battling, and she's kind of in a conservative outfit and not really...
a little out of shape.
Gotta get not out of shape. She's been wandering around town, not really doing any battles, and basically what happens is as you progress through the game, she starts getting torn up, her clothes starts getting torn, and she's basically getting everything torn down to nothing, and eventually picks up the armor similar to the stuff in the movie, and... we've gone many different angles with her outfits and whatnot. I was going to do a lot of, for third-person enthusiasts, they go crazy about outfits, which is, I can understand that, but we just wanted to do it to make sure that the game makes sense. When you're getting your butt kicked, you're starting to get your outfit torn off, and that kind of allows to show some cleavage and whatnot, too. So
we're going to get into a little bit more into the game itself and know more of the details on it, let you tell the story here after our next break. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right, we'll be back with the guys from Ritual, talking about Heavy Metal FAKK 2. I'm just going to say FAKK 2 from now on. It's so much easier. This is the Game Dive. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Game Dive with the Game Guys. I'm Paul.
I'm Robert.
And we have with us the guys from Relic making...
from Ritual.
Ritual, excuse me. I knew I was going to do that before the night was over. From Ritual, makers of Heavy Metal FAKK 2, and
guys from Relic just wished they could make Heavy Metal.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? Knew I was gonna. We
just got that slow-selling loser Homeworld.
Yeah, it's number one with a turd. Basically, is what's going on. We have Robert Atkins on the line. We have Tom Mustaine, and according to the guy in the booth, we have Kevin, Mr. Kevin Eastman.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Kevin. How you doing?
Hey, guys.
Welcome to the Game Dive.
Thanks very much. Nice to be heard.
Hey, thank you so much for calling in. We've been talking to the guys about the game and the movie and all kinds of stuff.
Those guys rule, Ritual rules.
Woo!
We love this guy.
Love it, man. Yeah, you're the guy who brought it all together, brought it to Ritual, and brought the movie together, and saved the rest of the world, the rest of us, from those slimy lawyers in the music industry that were holding up Heavy Metal, the original movie, that released the video and the soundtrack and everything. So we owe you a lot, man.
Oh, I appreciate that. No, it only took 5 years of beating up lawyers with lawyers, and actually there was a little Columbia beating up to convince them that people out there actually might want to see the Heavy Metal movie, the first one, the original 1981 Ivan Reitman movie again. When I first went to Columbia and pitched them to release the movie, the first thing they asked me was, interesting, who owns it? So that's where we started. Actually, Columbia didn't even know that they had that they own that movie from 15 years ago, and so it was a 5 years, a long trek to get it back out there.
But well worth it.
Oh yes.
Yeah, if you're beating up lawyers with lawyers, it's a lot of fun to pick one up by the ankles and just wail on the other one with him. That way they both die and there's no murder weapon.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, quite a trek with that. And then you came up with the concept for Heavy Metal, essentially Heavy Metal 2, FAKK 2.
Well, what we wanted with the successful re-release of the first movie, we were able to use that as a foundation, a jumping point to start piecing together a second movie, which was great. It was, I wanted to try to take it in a different direction. I originally wanted to try to take short stories from the magazine and create some new stuff. But to me, it was like, 15 years later, I want to try something a little bit different. And so I took an original concept that I had worked on with Simon Bisley that we never creatively were completely satisfied with, and we sort of wanted to take another shot at retelling that, sort of stirred in a little bit of, actually a lot of Julie Strain to the storyline, and the whole thing sort of really nicely and naturally evolved as a project. And here we are, 3 years later, the movie's been completed. They're still doing some tweakage on it at this point, but it's, for all intents and purposes, it's done. But interestingly enough, about the time we finished, or actually began production on the second Heavy Metal movie, is when we were introduced to this fantastic group of guys in Dallas, the Ritual crew, and started working on what was, would be my favorite part of the licensing program next to the toys, which is the video game. But it was great. It was a really interesting process where we approached. I spoke with a friend of mine, Russell Binder, and said, "Who's the best bunch of guys out there that work in these days?" And he said, "Ritual, and we should talk to them." And I think to solidly confirm their reputation that'll grow and grow and grow is when we said, we're heavy metal, we're doing this, They actually came back with us with the idea and saying, look, a regular company out there would take a concept like, say, James Bond or this, or take an intellectual property and basically do an adaptation of that in game form. Well, we're off the beaten path, and we think we should actually make the sequel. The movie, the video game should actually be the sequel to the movie. And so that's where the conversation started. I was just blown away. Like I said, that's fantastic. It's amazing. People could see the film, and then if they found something in it that they liked and wanted to continue, or found something they didn't want to see some other version of it, they can go to the game and see a whole other side.
That also blows the doors open for creative license when you don't have to stick with a movie.
Totally. You just unleash these guys, say, and that was. The continuation of the thought was just that, here's what we've done, you guys have at it, and you raise holy oh hell, and I think they had a pretty good time doing it.
Kevin, have you ever been...
It ain't over yet.
It ain't over. It's only just begun.
I like those kind of threats.
Now, Kevin, have you ever dealt with a gaming company before, or been involved with a game, a computer game?
We let's see, I think we sold about... 18 million copies of the variations of the Turtle games that we did with Konami and Nintendo.
Were those primarily PlayStation type games from Nintendo, or
they did some arcade games? They did some handheld games. They did some Nintendo 64, PlayStation stuff. So it was all, it was an interesting time. You think for video games, how much they've evolved, like everything else in computers. I guess that when we started with Konami, they were doing what then was cutting edge, which was it was a 4-player arcade game. We actually each 4 people could be each a different turtle, and you could all interact on the gaming platform and fight all the bad guys and so on and so on. And it sort of went on from there. So that was my first introduction to that kind of thing.
I played the arcade game of that.
It was I think like X-Men and one of the Street Fighters,
Crime
Turtles,
Crime Fighter or something like that, and X-Men at the time, and they used that same kind of engine for. And I played the heck out of the Ninja Turtles game. Same with the Nintendo version.
Was Mortal Kombat around the same time? Was that?
Yeah, right around the same time.
Yeah, in the arcades and on the
that was
whoa, dude.
Whoa, dude.
Now, a little bit further back in the history of the movie, the graphic novel Melting Pot.
Yes.
Now, is that the original sequel? Is the movie kind of based on that, or is it a whole new story?
There's elements that actually go to what's kind of interesting, and it depends on your perspective. It's kind of interesting on the one hand and kind of not on the other. That we the first draft that Simon and I put together of the screenplay is quite a bit different from what evolved 23 drafts of the script later. We started with when the earliest drafts had a lot of melting pot, because when Simon and I did the original graphic novel, it was, I think we got a little too artsy for our own good. Simon really felt that I overwrote it and explained a lot and this and that, and so what we did on the final pass, just before I went to press it, I went through and I probably cut out almost 40% of the dialogue that had been there. And when it was published and we read it, I looked at it afterwards, and ultimately, people that had read it came back to me and said, pretty pictures, but what the hell? What was trying to say? And we sort of figured out that unless you were, Simon and I, or Eric Talbot, who contributed a lot of great ideas to it, unless you knew the story inside and out, knew what was over the next hill or behind all the rocks and trees and what the characters were, unless you were one of us, you really didn't know what the hell the story was about. Then we had some continuity glitches where Simon would forget that a character that he painted 4 pages before didn't have a nose. 4 pages later, he'd put a nose on it.
So do you think that's a case of being too close to the project?
Can't see the forest through the trees sort of thing. So we thought when we started the movie, said, well, this is a great chance. We'd love the story, and there was some great story concepts in there that we'd like to tell for the first time, I guess, so that people could understand them and start evolving the project from there. But what you'll see in the finished movie is there are some elements, but very, very few, just a fraction.
And then in comes Julie Strain.
In comes Julie Strain, yeah.
Yeah, just mentioning earlier on the website, it states that you didn't really have an inspiration for that character until Julie came along.
Well, exactly. I did. We did it back in the Mirage, the Turtle Publishing Company days. We did a book called Grunts that had war stories. We're going to do sort of Two-Fisted Tail style war stories, but with animals. And I did this one story that I actually had a much harsher name. I don't know how much I can say on the site, but
we are not regulated. Knock yourself out.
So we had I really want to do a character called Fuck You, and it was a little non-commercial, so I ended up sort of Fuck You, and I went to the FAKK 2, F.A.K.K 2. So I liked the idea, and I started working on this character, but there wasn't a real person that really could help me build up in my mind what I wanted this character to be until I met Julie. And so I sort of really, I did that in probably, 88 or 89, so I shelved the whole thing until I met Julie in 94 and pulled the whole thing back out, and it just sort of, the melting pot in the second Heavy Metal movie and everything sort of all gelled, and one of those things where you kind of think it was meant to be, I guess,
Okay, you don't just meet Julie Strain, at Denny's. So I'm going to ask, how did you two hook up?
No, you have to go to a comic store to meet.
Oh.
No, in all seriousness, well, actually, I did meet Julie at a comic store on Melrose, a comic store called the Golden Apple. I'd come into town at 2 different times, once in November and once in February. Completely by accident. Was unscheduled to come to town. It was a last minute thing, and I had to come out and do some work on a 4th Turtle movie that eventually never evolved. Mm-hmm. But every time I'd come to town, I'd go visit my friend Bill Leibowitz, who owns the store. So I stopped in one night, and Julie was doing a signing there. So I joined her fan club and got to chat with her for a few minutes, and I thought that was the most amazing thing in my life. I'd never meet someone like this, and that would actually give me the time of day ever. And I'll never see her again, and I'll be grateful for the few minutes that I had. Well, I met her again in February. Same thing, came out completely accidentally. Stopped in to see my friend Bill. She was there doing another signing for a trading card set, and I think both of us were a little freaked out that this is too weird. So I bribed her heavily to go out on a date. No. So for some reason, she went out on a date with me. I still haven't figured that one out, and we haven't left each other since, and we've been together 5 years.
You realize, of course, this is better than the lottery dream for your typical person who goes into a comic book store looking for books, looking for stuff, and has been seeing these drawings of, shall we say, very well-endowed people that we wish we dated in high school. And you walk in, and there's Julie Strain twice. and you get, and she just takes to you, and you go out, and the rest is history, as they say. This is the total lottery for comic book readers.
Man, it's like, and you see those lottery commercials where they go like, I don't believe it, I don't believe it. Well, 5 years later, I'm still going, I don't believe it, and I don't know what she's doing with me, but.
I must have been going to all the wrong comic book stores because all I ever meet is fat, sweaty guys.
Some guy behind the counter named Nigel.
Who just grunts when you ask him something.
Been wearing the same X-Men T-shirt for the last 7 years. You gonna buy that, or you're just gonna read? This ain't a library,
Yeah, just burn off the next one. They've never done anything better since.
Hey, Kevin? Are you game to take a call? We got a couple of people calling and wanting to chat to you and the guys.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I'll be here. I'd like to follow behind the guys and see what people. Yes.
Great. We'll bring them on in. Hi, welcome to the Game Dive. Who's this?
Oh, me?
The second. Let me look. Yeah, it's you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Who's this?
Oni.
Oni.
Oh, yeah.
How you doing?
Oh, fine.
Do you know who you're talking to on the phone?
Yes. One of the co-creators of the famous black and white comic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Woo! Woo! Yeah, you got it right.
Yes, I know.
What can we do for you?
Well, several things. One, I'd like to ask how did he feel about the movie adaptations of his comic? Did Hollywood actually butcher his characters?
That's a good question. Actually, when Pete and I did the original comic book, we never really expected it would do anything beyond that.
It is famous for its undergroundness.
Yes, exactly. It was black and white. I mean, the first issue was only 3,000 copies, and it sort of grew and evolved from there, selling enough copies so that Hollywood sort of took notice.
Yeah, I think the RPG was much more better than the comic.
What's that?
The RPG.
Yes, the role-playing game, for sure, yes.
It was done by Palladium, and it was a better world. And, mind you, for out there, folks, they're doing a second edition, which was supposed to be released about several months ago.
Yeah, no, me and Simon Bisley did a cover for that. I don't know what happened to that.
Yeah, but that's not the Image, but those are based more on the Image Turtles, which Image has totally warped. They made one of them into a robot.
Oh. Hello.
We actually liked the first movie was probably the most accurate adaptation of the comic books. The second movie, Hollywood did what we think, even though we had a lot of say in it, they changed a lot of things. Your approvals can only go so far. The second movie, they tried to fix something that wasn't broken, in our opinion.
But it had Vanilla Ice.
What's that?
But it had Vanilla Ice.
And on behalf of white people across the world, we're sorry about Vanilla Ice. That wasn't
our
fault.
Sorry as I am, I'll tell you. That was that to me was like I think Pete actually cried in the movie when they said that they've actually got Vanilla Ice, because he's it was just one of those things that, like, please God, this is not happening. And we protested greatly. I mean, in fact, if you actually read the screenplay that Pete and I worked on with Todd Langdon for the second movie, and what actually made it on the screen, it's nearly night and day. The third movie, so we feel that the first movie being the best movie, the second movie being the absolute worst movie, the third movie sort of fell a little bit in between. It wasn't as bad as the second movie, but it wasn't as good as the first movie. And I give all the credit to the success of the first movie to the director, Steve Barron, who not only loved the original. Well, he loved the original comics, but he wanted to tell a story that was true to the original. He liked the way it was written. He liked the way it was handled. He believed in it. He also brought in the Jim Henson's Creature Shop to help bring our guys to life, and he just had a wonderful vision for our characters, which was really kind of trippy, with somebody can crawl inside your mind and actually do it better than you'd imagined,
Wow. Now, the third movie is actually shot in Astoria, if I recall, part of it, wasn't it?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, because I remember seeing the call for auditions. Yeah. And I missed it. I couldn't get down there. Damn. I wanted to be in a turtle suit.
Too funny.
But unfortunately...
You don't need the suit, dude.
Okay, I'll do more sit-ups, all right? Give me a break. But actually, we lost our caller. I think she was beamed back up to the mothership. I'm not sure.
I heard that buzzing, and I was afraid it was my phone. Maybe she was on a cell phone that cut out on her or something.
No, I think the contact from Kuzbane or whatever planet she was from.
Excuse me. Yeah, that was a he, by the way.
That was a he?
That was a he.
I don't really know because I can't see them. I can only hear their voice, so I can only interpret from that what they're talking about.
That's too good of an impersonation of that guy. That's funny.
I think Kevin made a good point about the director of the first movie is how he actually cared and loved the property, and that's. I can speak for myself. I mean, I love heavy metal, and that's why. I take it really seriously that this is a labor of love to make a video game based around something that I grew up digging so much, and it's I feel like just honored. I mean, I don't even have to pay me to work on this thing, man. It's so cool.
Oh, that sounds good.
Check to the game dive.
Yeah, you've done it.
Wow.
But you're right. It's like, Rod, that what you guys, the canvas that you guys have painted over there, it's like, bringing your favorite parts of heavy metal and bringing your favorite parts of other things that inspired you, bringing them to life, and being able to, the characters you've created is stuff that, I couldn't imagine when you guys were sending sketches over for me to look at. I was just like blown away, and I'm like, how can I outdo what you guys have done by doing really twisted, goofy shit. I think I threw a couple ideas that some of you guys like, but all in all, it's just I couldn't keep up.
Some of the characters that that are going to make it in the game and stuff. I think heavy metal is just like that. I mean, the magazine is a compilation of different artists contributing to it. I mean, there's no one artist that does all the work. It's like all over the world, all these different artists have made this property what it is, and I think I just feel like we're just one more artist who gets to add to this great work of art that's been around for over 20 years.
I think that's a real good perspective, and it's too true. I first started reading heavy metal in 1977. I was just it still continues to blow me away, the talent of some of these guys and how many different kinds of ideas they can come up with, and the labor of love that they put into the comics. I mean, some of those guys take a year to produce a graphic novel, a 46-page graphic novel. To me, that's that kind of dedication is just pretty mind-blowing.
Well, it's something mentioned earlier as well is between the game and the new movie and the toys. And I'm hinting that I would like some of the toys.
Send you some for review, of course.
Oh, of course. I think that would be a wonderful thing, and we, of course, get lots of pictures up on the game dive and push them as best we can. But that would be really good. But that and also the future. I mean, with bringing this back, this genre that now I don't know how old you guys are, but I saw this heavy metal originally in high school, and being the pubescent young man that I was, boy howdy did I like that movie. And but being able to bring that back after it's been gone for so long. I mean, that's almost 20 years.
Exactly.
And now it's coming back, and with the media and the technology and all we have to offer with games and the future, this is I believe that was Robert that was speaking, saying that you're adding to something that's been a labor of love for 20 years. And being able to expand that is great, especially bringing back all these talents. We're going to grab another break and come on back. We have another caller for you, and let's talk a little bit more about the interactions of you guys in building this project and where it's going and that stuff. Cool. All right, we'll be right back. This is the Game Dive. Welcome back to the Game Dive. We have quite the show going on. We're talking to the people making Heavy Metal FAKK 2. And people behind it, Robert Atkins, artist, Tom Mustaine, designer, and the man behind it all, Mr. Kevin Eastman. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hey, something I want to ask you regarding the movie and by extrapolation the game. The original movie, and Kevin, you know this by experience, the music kicked ass. I mean, I actually have the soundtrack on vinyl that I found in a thrift store.
I got one of those too, yeah.
And it was great, and that and the voice talent. I mean, we might be able to get Oni for you, but the voice talent, of course, we had John Candy and got just a ton of people from that era. Can we look forward to that in both the game and the movie?
I think we got an absolutely smoking soundtrack. 22 songs to date, and still the music company is a Restless brand record. That's a part of is part of Regency Entertainment, who's brought us great films like Once Upon a Time in America, Brazil, L.A. Confidential, and they own Restless Records. And Bill Hine over there has dedicated himself with a guy named Bruce Berman, who's our sound supervisor, and man, I'll tell you, they've got a brand new Monster Magnet song, brand new Pantera song, brand new Insane Clown Posse song, brand new Machine Head, Billy Idol, Coal Chamber, Puya, Conaline Crush, Bauhaus.
Wow!
And there's just one of my favorite songs is a band called Zilch. It's a Japanese band, and they sing American. They've done like a double platinum sales in Japan, and they've got a song called Inside the Pervert Mound, which plays in the big shootout in the bar scene in the movie. And this is going to be one of those songs I think is going to be a real breakout. But yeah, it's absolutely smoking. For voice talent, we've got what Julie Strain does, the voice of FAKK too, which were great. She did a wonderful job, worked really, really hard to do it. Michael Ironsides plays Lord Tyler, which is the main bad guy. Mm-hmm. We had Judd Nelson on board to do the voice of one of the characters. He recorded it. Did a tremendous job, and we ran into some contractual glitches at the end, and unfortunately had to be pulled.
More legal stuff.
It was, and he did this. His character was written to be this sort of Dennis Hopper in a la Apocalypse Now style of real bizarre character, and he brought it to life in a big way, and that was a real tragic loss to the whole project. But there's a lot of some of the problems too, not problems, but it was a Canadian-German co-production, so we had to have a certain Canadian element and European element, and of course one of my favorites is Billy Idol was brought on board to do the character Odin, which is one of the main characters.
Good to see Billy getting work again.
You know, it was freaky. The first one, he came over because he sent some tapes over through his agent. Heard we were looking for soundtrack songs, and he sent a couple tracks over, and this one was called "Buried Alive," and it was just he teamed back up with Steve Stevens, his original guitarist from the period, and we were floored. And I was like, Bruce, we got to get this song for the soundtrack. Can we call him up? And he did, and Billy said, I want to come over and talk to you. And we were like, dude, this is cool. Right?
Maybe.
And he looks like, a few more wrinkles, but he looks like the same.
Wow.
You remember from the 80s early.
Oh, yeah. Well, I saw him in The Wedding Singer. It's like, yeah, that's Billy Idol.
He looked better when I saw him in person than he did actually in the Wedding Singer, to be honest.
Good.
Yeah, he was great. And so he comes over and he said, I've been doing some voices for animation. I'd love to do a voice for your for your movie. If there's anything, he said, just a couple lines would be great. And I don't want to give anything away with the movie and stuff. We found a perfect role, and he plays this character Odin, which is one of the main characters, and he just did an absolutely outstanding job.
Now, Odin is also the name of a Norse god. This isn't a Norwegian accent happening, is it?
No.
Because I just can't imagine Billy Idol and that dude in a Norwegian accent.
But he does more with an Indian accent. So hello.
He's the character that keeps putting his fist up to the screen. Right?
Does a thing and grunts a lot.
So, of course, Julie is doing the voice talent. Now, I just have this picture, Kevin, of you're sitting there in your living room, talking to us on the phone, and then Julie's on the couch like in sweatpants and bunny slippers, flipping through the TV going, what the hell are you doing over there? I keep hearing my name.
It's too funny. Actually, I shut the door because our bedroom is right off the studio, which is, we spent most of our time. And Julie's actually, she went to sleep early this morning because she's shooting a calendar for some nutty company out of Dallas called Gathering of Developers.
Oh yeah, we've heard of those now.
Flash in the pan.
One-hit wonders. Julie's been, okay, here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah, one hit, and you wonder what hit you.
But Julie's been getting into photography. She's been doing it for a couple of years, and she shoots a lot of girls for their websites, and she's been published in lots of different magazines. And Harry Miller was over here recently working on some promotional stuff for heavy metal and some other things, and and saw some of Julie's photographs, and we were going to do this calendar, and basically hired Julie on the spot to do it. So she's going to be frolicking around on a beach near Topanga, just a little bit up of from Malibu. With a bunch of, I think, 10 to 12. Hey, Robert, what are you guys doing over there? And why aren't you over here for something like that? You should be personally overseeing these kind of things.
We definitely need to be on that.
I smell a company trip here real quick.
You could probably get on a plane. You could still be here if you could do a red eye.
Expense account.
You've got to be here. You know, the skirts could turn out crooked. The swimsuits may need to be adjusted at the last minute. And, you know, you guys, to me, have the eye for that.
Hey, the man said it. The man gave the word here, guys. I think you better start calling the travel agent right now.
Just see if we can, we'll conference Harry Miller and tell him, Harry, you know, you got to approve this. And the dive's going to be there just for, you know, being over your house. I'm gonna kick him in his butt.
I will kick you in the nuts.
Thank you.
So, so Julie is asleep. We can't get her on the
No, she's sleeping.
Okay, you probably not want to wake her up.
She's bigger and stronger than me. When we used to go, I used to tell people, it's like, she's my bodyguard.
And
they just go, yeah, like we didn't know that.
Well, getting back to a little more in depth on the game. Now, you've told us a little bit about the story. We know the technology is third person, taking place 30 years after the movie. And of course, we don't want to give away too much with the movie. And you're using the Quake engine, etc. But sure, I'm looking for my facts here. I'm stalling, looking for my feature sheet here.
Oh, don't worry.
And
I'm all in the brain.
Okay. Give us a little more about the game itself, both from the story and the technology perspective.
Well, basically, I'll start with technology perspective. Basically, what we did is
this is Tom, right?
Yeah, this is Tom.
Okay, we're getting the voices kind of muddied up here, and
yeah, there's 10 people on here now or something like that. But basically, when we got a hold of Quake 3, we right away we had a pretty big advantage on starting development of this game because the systems that we developed in SiN were actually kind of ritual proprietary systems. Our modeling system, our scripting language, and it's probably still some of the most advanced gaming architecture stuff you could possibly have out there. So what that allowed us to do is, we were conceptualizing the game for about a year before we actually started working on in-game content, and we're about 6 months into the game right now, and we just had an ECTS show, and before that an E3 show, and we've got full gameplay in there. You can run around, shoot each other, and shoot monsters and play and do jumping around and climb up objects in the whole 9 yards. So the technology side of it is completely sound. Not to mention the fact that it's obvious, Quake 3, which has got tons of hype, and it's also like the best multiplayer engine out there you can handle, plus the visuals are just incredible. So it's really allowed us to do a lot of the content that we've created. We don't have to cut out a lot because it looks visually about the same, when we put it in the game as the initial concepts, which is just great. And also when we get our gameplay, we really wanted to focus on making sure that areas of the game that you go and play through are fresh and different, because playing a lot of third-person games, we're all big-time game fans, and have played third-person games, and you get kind of bored after a while, even in first and third-person games with the gameplay. It gets kind of repetitive. So a lot of our big focus on designing the game out early on was to make sure that every area you go through in the game has a different gameplay offering to it. So initially when you start out in the game, you're learning a lot about Julie, why people who haven't seen the movie and just pick up the game, because we're shooting at a different audience as well. We do have like gamers who are just going to buy it for the Quake 3 side of it. And hopefully what that'll do is once they play the game, they'll want to go see the movie as well. So it's kind of a cross-mogenation thing going on there. But basically when, the beginning of the game, you're learning about the character, and you do a lot of talking and interaction with characters in the world and get attached to characters who will later, potentially die on you, not give anything away, but basically
everyone dies.
Lots of building up initially on in the game, and you kind of learn about how to play and learn about how you do your weapons and how to move around and whatnot. And then as you get to the middle, more into the first part of the game, the first real part of the game where you go into combat, you go into a really full-on combat where you're using more of our technology. Our modeling system allows us to do multi-targeted combat, so you're going to be able, imagine playing Quake 3 with two railguns and be able to shoot two people at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of the most unique things about the game is our combat system. It's kind of a mixture between Street Fighter and Tekken and Quake and Tomb Raider. It's a really interesting mix, and it's really allowed us to do some incredible stuff with the monsters. Each monster you fight, we've designed around the weapons that you're going to create and the weapons you're going to have. So in one hand you have a laser crossbow, in the other hand you have a heavy metal sword.
Okay, wait a minute. Weapons you create?
No, yeah, you can basically, there are weapons that grow in the game. And
wow.
I don't want to go too into detail about it. We're still kind of working on the details of it. But there's some weapons that you can pick up in the game you can kind of modify yourself. But initially, a lot of the weapons we create, that's more than me to say. But
okay.
There are some weapons in the game that do grow, and I can't really explain it without having to show it to you. But basically, you can have one weapon in one hand, one in the other. And the monsters we've created in the game are balanced around weapon combinations more so to kind of get rid of the big gun theory. Like in Doom, you get the BFG and, I'm done. I just blast everybody else. And we've really created it so you can use weapons on particular monsters. And, you may have to go back to the first weapon you get in the game to create to defeat a certain monster because that's just the way we've designed that monster. And it really allows for us to reuse content, number one, and it doesn't limit the player to be going, I'm tired of using this, or I've played with the pistol too much, or I've played with the shotgun too much. I want to start using the bigger guns. No, it's more about how the combat plays out, and along with more like Street Fighter and Tekken style, we're kind of taking our cue. We're all big fans of games like that. Is combos where you go after a creature and you do particular keyboard combinations that allow for you to learn new techniques throughout the game to attack different ways, and the better players are going to be able to combo their way into winning a match more so than just pulling the trigger. So it's been a definite different approach from even a third-person game aspect, and it's definitely on the action. But going back to the gameplay part of it, it's just every part of the game we're trying to make different, and we've designed the creatures around the levels. Each particular type of level you get into, some are more dialogue-oriented, some are more action-oriented, some are more puzzle-oriented, and it definitely adds an interesting mix. Along with everything in the heavy metal universe, we can create stuff that fits the universe and fits the movie and put it in the game, and it just works. We make it fit around the gameplay instead of having to make the gameplay fit a movie. So.
Now, Kevin, how much did you have to do with the gameplay that Tom just described, or did you just let him go nuts?
No, I pretty much led the way. I pointed and directed it from the word go. In fact, Tom say everything. I was going to step in and correct him on a few things, but I didn't really want to. No. Profuse apologies. No, actually, I'm as far as a tech guy, I'm completely illiterate, and some of the stuff that these guys will be showing me and talking to me, it just bewildered me. It was like special effects. It was a whole other realm of creativity and a whole other side of the brain that I couldn't comprehend in my wildest dreams. So some of the stuff that they were coming up with, and the things that when they would, some of the stuff he just explained again, even when I'd go over to Dallas and we'd go through some of the stuff, I'd go like, no, you were kidding, right? You can't really do that, right? And they're looking at me like I got lobsters crawling out of my ears, and they go, "Of course you can, idiot, mortal." But
are you a Mac user? Yes, you can do this.
Exactly.
Well, the artwork as well for in Heavy Metal magazine and the movie is very distinctive. Now, Robert, you're the lead artist, correct?
Art director, yeah.
Art director. Now, did you have any part in creating this, or did you pretty much have to go from other people's designs and imitate, or how much input did you have on the look of the game?
One of the things that we've done with this game more so than we've done with any other games that we've ever worked on is a lot of conceptual work. We spent a ton of our time while we were still in the process of making SiN, creating conceptual concepts of the characters that you're going to be, that you'd fight, and the characters that'd be in our game, as well as the environmental. One of the problems we had with SiN that we learned from was one person's interpretation of what a bank would look like is different than what the other 10 guys on the team's interpretation of what a bank would look like. And if you don't have a concept to go by, then you're going to be surprised. Everyone will be surprised what happens when the level designer makes it. So it was really important for us to keep the integrity and the visual quality and design of the environments consistent, and by having conceptual sketches done for everything, just like they do for a movie, like set design. Basically, go in there and every environment, every character, everything has concepts made, and I've worked in game companies before, and that's a new concept. It's been really important for us to do that. The art is, we want to make the game really colorful. A lot of games have first person games for the PC have always been kind of drab, and of course there's been limitations with palette in the past, and the nice thing about technology advancing is we can go crazy, and we have no more limitation of a palette. So expect the game to be very colorful, very wacky. When environments change, you're going to get totally different new visuals. We're an MTV generation. If you don't stimulate us, we get bored, and that's the approach that we take when we make these video games. It's like constant stimulation, baby, in your face. It's got to be different all the time.
Paul's more like Gilligan's Island generation.
Hey,
that's why he lives on a boat.
Put down the coconuts. Move away from Ginger.
There's a license hasn't been touched yet.
Sorry, what was that?
There's a license hasn't been touched yet.
Ooh, Gilligan's Island in 3D.
That's right.
Then we'll get Julie to play Ginger. One question I have, we've talked about Julie being in the movie, Julie being in the game. Is that the name of the character? Did you name the character Julie?
Uh-oh, did we forget that guy?
What? Oh, shit. Oh, no. We've been calling her Julie this whole time. I was just curious if the character's name was something different.
Yeah, we actually, for the movie, we've definitely used the name Julie as the main character. Although she refers to it, we sort of wanted it. She'd refer to it, I think, once in the movie only, and then for the rest of the time, we really wanted to take on the persona of FAKK 2, and I think the guys have carried that over into the game.
I'm just curious.
Although what I'm betting, though, too, is I think when they go to a strip club, they're probably telling the dancer in front of them that they've modeled it after them. Trying to get a date. And
I don't know what you're referring to.
Senator.
My wife is tuned in to the dive. No, Kevin who? Hello?
Well, actually, we've got another caller I'd like to bring in before we run out of time.
Cool.
Welcome to the Game Dive. Who's this?
Hi, this is David Eddings in Dallas.
Hi, David. How you doing? Thanks for being patient. We got a lot of stuff going on here.
No worries.
You got a question?
Having a great time listening to you guys. One, I have a comment and a question. First, the comment. I just want to say that everybody sitting in that room is a big inspiration to all the comic book reading, game playing geeks like me. Not because of what you guys have done, but mainly because who's on your arm. I understand all of y'all have some great babes that you get to go to bed with. So.
Yeah, you never thought in a million years you could walk into a comic store and walk out with Julie Strain, right?
I'm guessing it has to do with the hair. Everybody has long hair except for Tom. Tom cut his hair off, and he's not dating anybody now.
Yeah. I'm dating somebody. Come on now.
Yeah, really, I am.
She lives 40 miles away. It's no big deal.
Not that she's that girl up in Canada or something.
Yeah, basically.
Not that I would know, but
can't prove it.
I guess the biggest question I have right now is everybody's really excited about FAKK 2, the game, and the movie coming out. What can we see from you guys in the future? Are we going to be working together on anything else?
Are you guys pretty much being sucked up by this, or you got anything coming down the pipe?
Right now, our focus is this video game. We already have the story in line for the sequel to the game. We can't wait. I'm excited. I'm excited to get to the sequel even now because it's going to be a whole new type of environments, new type characters, and we get to do some cool new stuff and continue on with using this great property and this great character.
Now, you guys said you've been working on this for 6 months?
Working on the actual game content for 6 months. We've been on the design side of it for probably sitting down and actually figuring out where the story's going to go and what the lead players are for probably about a year now.
Okay, because I was going to say, and if you're going to go in, you're planning for Q1. That's a blistering pace for getting a game knocked out.
Oh, it's actually not. It's amazing how it's come together. Like I mentioned before, with the technology being in a pretty much completed state for us, it's just a matter of putting the game in putting the elements into the game. Which a lot of times when you're developing a game, we'll sit back and start developing the technology alongside with the assets, and come to the end of the game, you're redoing all your assets again, which really sucks. And right now, basically, we're at a point where we can put our assets in a completion state and not have to go, we got to redo this because the technology's evolving the whole time.
Oh yeah.
So it's definitely changed our pace and our schedule along these lines. Plus, I think David was saying there is the ritual. Like we're going with Heavy Metal. Obviously, we're just talking about the sequel to the game as well, and that's unannounced. We're not really. We haven't seen what's going to happen with that for real as far as the content. We've definitely left the story open and designed a lot of the story to fit a sequel very easily.
So don't take our word for it. This is all a dream. Don't think about it. Move along, people. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, no big deal. But basically, we're also looking, and we're a game company. We're into making fast action games, as well as we've looked into making other kinds of titles, but we're definitely going to be making games as long as we're still in the business. So we're not only looking into heavy metal, but heavy metal's primarily our big focus right now. And that's just what we're having a blast with right now.
I like to say too that one thing is, after I started seeing what these guys could do, I made them all sign a lifetime contract. They have to do nothing but work on heavy metal. No, what actually is cool, what evolved out of the whole process was that we go to them and start a sort of like can we work with you and do a game, and then the game is started and the game has evolved, and this whole other world is unfolded sort of before for heavy metal's eyes on the amazing creativity of the Ritual crew, that we're actually doing now a comic book adaptation of the game. We're doing a making of sort of a creation of the game. We want to do like an art book like we're doing for the movie. We want to do it on the actual creation of the game. We've done a line extension actually for the toys with we had a company sign up and agree to do 10 figures of characters from the movie. When they saw what the guys at Ritual do, and they sign on for another 10 figures of characters based on the game.
Wow.
So we're actually seeing like what we planted a seed over there, and it grew and grew and grew into this amazing whole other thing, and now it's actually coming back our way, where we're going to actually be able to expose the heavy metal fans to Ritual's creativity, and we'd like to see that give and take back and forth continue, because it's
that's the great thing about
the talent pool is just incredible, and it's
merge right now with
it's a great bunch of guys and a lot of fun to keep it. Sort of, it feels like a family at this point,
Robert, you were saying something?
Yeah, basically that's one of the greatest things. This is Tom, actually working with Kevin and working with as our team working on the actual game is what we've done is like the movie has turned out. We've seen some screeners of the movie and what that's been going. It turned into an incredible thing. Like when we initially saw it, we were excited about it, and what came out in the end is like, oh my God, this is so cool. It's like more than anything we'd imagined. And it's amazing how, our talents lied in the gaming industry side of it. So we basically put everything that we knew into this game and are trying to make it, the best game that we've ever produced. And it's definitely, even now, we're still about 6 months out from, our quarter date, and we've got a game that's playable right now. That's so much, it's like really fun to play, and that's an astounding thing. And we get people looking at it at like ECTS. We had reporters saying to us, "Hey, why don't you ship this thing?" It's like, well, that's what it's going to look like in 6 months, And it's just amazing to be working alongside with Kevin and getting his input and everyone who works with Kevin's input, as well as us being able to make our talents and be able to put out a game that'll fit not only to the gamers, because that's probably our biggest primary focus, of course, is making sure that it's a fun game to play, and that's been at our technology point. We're making this game as fun as possible. We're not really focusing on making this thing a technology highlight, and we're just making a great game out of it. And so in the end, I think it's just made for an incredible experience tying between the two industries and putting out like really quality stuff, both in the movie side and, everything Kevin and them have done has just turned out incredible. And everything from we've heard about our stuff is like, everyone's like, hey, it looks great. And we're like, yeah, okay, we're just making a game out of it. We're making the best thing we can. So, and it's been a blast so far. And we're getting to the point now where it's like, holy crap, this thing is fun.
It's huge.
I have another question, actually.
Go ahead, David.
It's obvious that the Ritual guys are getting a lot of inspiration from what Kevin's doing. But Kevin, has there been anything that you've seen them do that's caused you to maybe add something to the project that you're working on now, or maybe think in a different direction?
Mainly the biggest inspiration I've had is trying to figure out a way to take a lot more credit for everything they've done. I haven't figured it out yet, but when I do, I'll let you know. No, it's actually there's already been some talk about we've finished the first movie. What do we do next? Is there going to be a Heavy Metal 2 too? Heavy Metal FAKK.
That would be the ballet version.
And what can we do with the storyline? Well, the first stage of evolution, of course, for me, for the magazine side, because I think although there are a lot of crossover between the heavy metal fans and the gaming fans and the Ritual, the gaming fans in general, and soon to be loads of them, legions of them heading towards Ritual, is to expose them to the comic adaptation of what they're doing for the game story and see how that evolves. That could be a great foundation for the continuation of FAKK 2 if that's something that Columbia and SiN Group and the Trickster, the German studio, want to pursue. Outside of that, I think everybody wants to, we want to survive the movies. Well, we survived the movies production. We want to survive now the movies release. And I think the game guys will probably want to finish up the first and release that and take a bit of a vacation. And then maybe then I'll come over and we'll all get really drunk and talk about what we want to do next.
And that will inspire the next game.
Exactly.
Now, David, what did you say your last name was when you came in?
Eddings.
Eddings, as in the author?
Yeah.
My partner Robert here just held up a sign. Is that David Eddings, the author?
There's a long story behind that.
If he ripped off your name, you ought to be suing the guy.
There you go.
Yeah, he ripped off. He's only about 40 years older than I am.
Well, that's pretty damn prescient of him.
Yeah, that's something. And an accident with a pen and a time travel device, I think.
Could be. I did that myself sometime.
Well, something that was brought up was that you guys are part of the MTV generation. Well, the original Heavy Metal was not. I mean, that came out in '81. MTV launched in 1980. The people who were fans of that and what it was targeted for was not an MTV, real flash. You have to keep something, shiny things in front of you all the time to keep your attention.
Totally.
And now you're bringing it into an entirely different generation, the MTV and the online game and the PC game generation. And it sounds like what you're doing is an incredible meld of those two things.
It's kind of the best of both worlds for us. And
even you guys remember Liquid Television, that was on MTV for a while there, and the feel of the comics, or the short animes that they had, Neon Flux. I mean, Heavy Metal has a lot of. I mean, I think had a lot to do with the inspiration behind those types of things that ran. I mean, Heavy Metal, the original movie, is like the granddaddy of most anime that we see out there now. So the people who maybe are too young to remember or have seen the original in the theaters, I think once they see the new film, they'll realize like, oh, this has its roots in something that preceded all the great Japanese animation and things that are out there now that are really popular.
Well, we've got a couple of minutes here before we're going to run out of time. Thanks for calling, David. You can just hang out until the end of the show if you like.
Actually, one last thing. To hear you guys talk, it sounds like y'all are falling in love with each other. If you guys get divorced, can you forward my telephone number to your girls?
Okay, we're gonna need a picture of you sent to the game dive at one.net in your most provocative costume, and we'll pass that on and see if the girls want to dump these guys for you.
Meanwhile, Robert, Tom, and I are gonna jump in a van and come find you and kick your ass. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Send Julie out to kick his ass. There you go. And
I'm after him. People he'd pay extra for that.
Oh yeah.
I'll pay to have Julie Train come kick my ass.
Ooh, hey, I think you might have hit on getting another business.
No, probably the funniest thing that happened related to that kind of goofiness is she actually sold her toenails online. Recently.
I'm assuming toenail clippings.
Yeah, or toenail clippings, yes. To a vivacious fan had seen some work she'd done for a magazine called Leg Show and went to her site, juliestrain.com, and very special request and paid about $150 for them.
Wow.
And the funniest thing is that they were actually my toenail clippers. No. She wouldn't cheat the family.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show, guys. Any last things you want to toss out there to the fans before we wrap it up?
Just ritual.com if they are interested in seeing more about the game and movie. They can find all the links to go to the great places. Heavy-Metal.net. This is the Heavy Metal magazine site.
Ritual rules. Go to Ritual and then come see us.
Oh, yeah. There's a ton of links and some great artwork on it.
Fun stuff.
Ritual.com. Well, thank you guys so much for coming in, and thanks, Kevin, for calling in.
Thanks, guys. Really enjoyed it, and thanks, Ritual and everybody, and take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Robert Atkins, lead artist, Tom Mustaine, the designer, and Kevin Eastman, the brains behind Heavy Metal FAKK 2, both the movie and the game. This has been The Game Dive. I'm Paul.
I'm Robert.
And we'll be here next week. Thanks a lot, guys.
See you later.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
At the end here, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Mike of the YouTube channel Dongled, who captured all of the gameplay footage that you saw in this video. The reason for it is that I had a heck of a time getting it to work on my old Windows 98 machine. It kept crashing, and he stepped up and he did that for me. I greatly appreciate it. Also, a huge thank you to my bud, Drunken Master Paul, for allowing me to share these retro interviews with you guys. I hope you enjoy them. All right, guys, have a great, great day.